Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome back to our watch club for Star Wars Ahsoka. Take us out, Padawan. Welcome back to Watch Club. My name is Nate, and this is our Watch Club for Star Wars Ahsoka Part 2, titled Toil and Trouble, directed by Steph Green. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Watch Club, our weekly review series, kind of like a book club, but way better. Keep in mind, we will be going into full spoilers for this series and Star Wars in general, so if you haven't watched this week's episode yet, be sure to do so, and then come right back in less than 12 parsecs. Now, before we all get haircuts, let me introduce you to my Rebel crew joining me today. First up, he is no Jedi. He's Justin, the Loth Cat Lawrence.
I feel like the no haircut remark is for us to call out the fact that you did get a haircut. Because
do you like it?
Hair is much shorter, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I was inspired. I was inspired by this episode. Nice. I didn't go so far as to put a bunch of colors in there, but we'll talk about that in a second because docking down, declaring droid in dank pendants, he's Darcy the Dank Dathomirian Hudson.
I never get tired of that. I like hearing it.
Now in this episode, Justin was just talking about, Sabine gets a haircut. I got a haircut. I didn't dye my hair like I was saying, but she's got very colorful hair. I can't even speak today. Now, currently none of us, I know this is an audio format, so it's kind of dumb to talk about things that people can't see, but none of us have our hair dyed. Darcy, I have a feeling you have. Do you guys have any hair dye stories?
You have a feeling. You met me when I had colored hair.
Did you?
Yes.
You had did you have blue, I think, or?
Yeah, I had blue, purple, pink, green. I've had all the colors under the rainbow at one point.
Right.
It's not like it's a recent thing. Every now and then I'm like, you know what, my hair needs to be brighter. Not just big, brighter.
Yeah. I think it's big enough. I think just go for the color after this. Do you think you're ever gonna put more color into it now that you've seen Sabine's hair?
I mean, maybe not because of Sabine, but I definitely am thinking of it again. That's just something that's always on my mind. I like color, and my hair is one place where I can add that color.
Beautiful. A nice tease. Justin, how about yourself? Do you ever have a cool hair dye job?
No, I never.
No, never?
I could, yeah. I once upon a time, thought about bleaching my hair. Just going bleached hair.
With the black eyebrows, but the bleached hair.
Right, exactly. And I was
dope.
Can't do that. And then if you bleach your eyebrows, you look like Thor from the first movie.
Yes.
With awful bleached
horrible
eyebrows.
Bleached eyebrows. I'm so glad they changed that.
So yeah, I've actually never done that. I don't think that I personally would do it for myself. But nothing against it. But I just
the only time I've dyed my hair.
You get frosted tips. You seem like a frosted tips kind of guy.
Dude, you're so close. You're so close with frosted tips. But it's a little almost like a combination of what you just described and Darcy. In that I think I was 12 or 13. I got the straight up boy band spiked blonde hair. But then I did blue tips, and I thought I was the coolest looking kid
B44
on the planet,
the B44
dude.
style. Yeah,
it was.
My first hair dye experience was also similar, where I had the frosted tips, but then not long after that, Halloween was coming up, and I was going to be a mad scientist.
Okay,
and my mom's like, "You want green hair? Fine, you can have green hair. Deal with that for the next 3 months." And I loved it. So
there you go.
She started something bad.
Kevin had a lot of frosted tips.
Oh yes, Kevin was very much rocking that boy band style.
Yeah, he wanted to be the sixth member of the Backstreet Boys for sure.
That's awesome.
K-Hud.
Oh man. Oh, we might have to bring that up on a future watch club with him. But yeah, no, I think the green hair, maybe doing a bit of a Jason Sandula kind of thing. Listen, this episode this is part 2. Hopefully you've already watched part 1. By this point, obviously we are full spoilers. And I will say this episode is a bit shorter than part 1, but it is so juicy. So we got to get into it. I'm stoked to get into it. I do want to quickly pause and just remind you listening that here at Geekcentric, we support the WGA and SAG-AFTRA as they strike to get the contract they deserve. Because without incredible writers and actors, we wouldn't get the wonderful stories like the ones from a galaxy far, far away that we love so much, and especially this series. So if you want to support the actors and writers of the things that we love, you can do so by checking out the links in our description. But guys, if you're ready, let's get into part 2, titled Toil and Trouble. And just for the reference, the first moments cutting back and forth between Ahsoka, then to Baylan, Shin, and Morgan, I have reorganized just slightly, just for the purpose of this discussion. It'll all make sense as we go through. Also, did you guys catch that they added Marrok, Huyang, Chopper, and Sabine to the logo treatment? Did you guys see that? Mm-hmm. I love it when it's just the best when they add them to there, and I'm just like, oh, there they are. Anyways, we kick off this episode. I'm assuming what seems like the morning after part 1's conclusion, after we see Ahsoka, or after what we saw with Sabine. We see Ahsoka looking out at the city of Lothal, and we hear the voices of Sabine, Ezra, Ahsoka herself, and Shin Hati, almost as if Sabine is having a nightmare of what happened the night before. Ahsoka wakes Sabine, and she tells her that droids took the map just before she unlocked it. She describes it had 2 galaxies and a pathway between them, but that's all she had time to see. Ahsoka leaves pretty upset and makes her way to see what else she can recover from Sabine's quarters. While she's there, she obviously encounters Sabine's Lothcat, a hologram of Ezra from the video that Sabine was watching, and then a sneak attack from an HK droid, an HK assassin droid, which she easily takes out. Having recovered the head of the droid, Sabine says that she can access its memory core to find out where it came from, but if she gets the power level wrong, well, the head could explode. Ahsoka approves, and Sabine discovers that the droid came to Lothal from Corellia. Ahsoka and Hera decide to head to Corellia to investigate an old disassembly plant once owned and operated by Morgan Elsbeth. And we also get a moment with Hera comforting Sabine and her insecurities around her relationship with Ahsoka. So, before we continue, Ahsoka seemed to be pretty unfazed by the mention of 2 galaxies. She kind of leans in when she hears that. Darcy, how much do you think she already knows and might be anticipating in terms of what's to come?
Well, I mean, we know there are other galaxies, so I feel like everyone in Star Wars also accepts the fact that there are other galaxies. What I feel like more is happening here is the fact that this map lead that she's following at this point in the story is not her first lead. She was probably tracking, Purrgil's migration routes or whatever, or trying to study about how they work or where they go, and maybe that led to the fact that they are galaxy hoppers. So maybe that was this is the clue that will lead them to where Thrawn and Ezra are or whatever.
Yeah. But correct me if I'm not wrong though, like in World Between Worlds, is she not sort of like saved from this sort of interdimensional, like outside galactical experience? And not only that, like didn't she went to Mortis. She's seen what lies, I think, beyond. So I think it's not she's leaning into it because she's interested in, and she knows that she's on the right path. I think she's very confident in knowing there is something beyond the galaxy that they currently exist in that allows for a different experience of time altogether.
Well, yeah, I mean that was the episode where like they were time traveling using the Force. So that's I feel like that is almost separate from this, because this looked like it was very much a physical
it's a physical yeah, no, for sure,
wormhole through reality, and that's maybe where it's interesting, because like the Lothwills were connected to this World Between Worlds. Maybe the Purrgils are connected to this like super hyperspace pathway or whatever that you take to go from galaxy to galaxy, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah, well, the etchings of the map in itself, I know we haven't really gotten there, but they all speak to World Beyond Worlds and what we see on Mortis. Even on Mortis, there's actually etchings of wolves in the sky at certain points when Anakin is wielding the Force, and you see the same sort of starry pattern that we see in the episode here with the map. So, and the idea that around where it's pointing, there's just Purrgils floating. I think it is the Purrgils' home. It's where they reside. It's where they kind of nest, if you will, right? And this is pointing them in that direction for that.
Well, and I think it, to me, her being so invested in all of this. Absolutely. She's trying to get to Thrawn. She says she's trying to prevent another war. But at the same time, I think there's definitely additional aspects to it. I think, trying to stop another war, she seems, and they've really hammered it home in these first 2 episodes, that she seems really connected with the Force. There are so many moments where she's like sensing things in the Force, and I'm just
She's
wondering.
the daughter, man.
But no. We want to go down the Mortis train, Mortis Fisto. But no, I think I was kind of getting the idea that yes, she wants to stop another war, and we're all thinking Thrawn. She's thinking Anakin. She's thinking of what's to come with Vader, and so I feel like maybe she, wants to try to change things in the past because she now knows that is something that can actually happen. I'm just wondering if because we see so much of Sabine wanting to correct what, the mistakes in the past with Ezra and losing Ezra, and she's so focused on that. I just wonder if they're going to draw a parallel with Ahsoka wanting to change the past to not lose Anakin to the dark side.
You had me up until you said that part, because again, reading the more recent series of the High Republic, we're introduced to another class of Jedi called the Wayseeker, and all they do is go out and listen to the Force and find new civilizations and new people to interact with, and just kind of remember their experience and their culture and stuff like that. That was all about what these people were, which was very much like what I feel like Ahsoka is doing at this point, where she's just going where the Force takes her, where she's needed, and where she can make an impact in some small way or some massive way. And I don't see the Force guiding her to this path if she's only going to go and try and change the past, because that, in any storyline, that's where stuff goes really wrong.
Right, but I'm wondering if she, we talked about last week that she's flawed, and I think she's very much a gray Jedi. Is she really thinking of the overall moral ramifications of something like this change? Like, does she almost anticipate that the good would outweigh the bad in this instance in particular? I don't know.
I don't know. I think Darcy's right. I don't know if that's her intentions, obviously, with seeking this power, but I think it's a call out for. I think that's more of a call out for Balin. I think there's intentions there that that seem more about personal sort of reasons as to why he wants to tap into it. I do think that she's trying to find a way to obviously maybe stop a war because she foresees it. Like the whole idea of the scene when she's in the hospital with Sabine and she can hear Sabine's nightmare, just like we did in the past episode in part 1 when she's sleeping and Ahsoka arrives. It's their connection to the Force, and I think that might have been part of the reason why Ahsoka decided to walk away from Sabine. She sensed so much grief, she sensed so much anger, she sensed so much unresolve, and that is things that she probably to a certain degree recognized in Anakin and never confronted with him, never talked to him about it, never thing. And
she walked away from him when she probably should have stayed.
Shouldn't have done it. Yeah. Exactly. So she's I don't know. She might be repeating the same mistakes, and that might be part of her journey and understanding her grief and how she's coping with this. But I do think her intentions are to stop Thrawn. I think she's, like you said, she's very dialed into the Force. She's as you said,
Wayseeker.
A Wayseeker, Darcy. I think she's absolutely a Wayseeker, and I think the Force is speaking to her, and she knows Thrawn is beyond that. Do you know what I mean?
For sure. I do also want to call out Hera in this moment. Darcy, in the previous episode in part 1 of our watch club, you were calling her out for not mentioning her only child at all. And we were kind of like, she's not being the best mom in that instance. But here, she's definitely being a great mom. I think with lines like, you did good and you need to help each other, get some rest. I think it just shows how much she really is the leader of this now disjointed family. And so I really like that they kind of adjusted that for her character in this episode. And I think it's again, I'm hoping we get to see more of that quality within her kind of shine, which I think.
But it's again, we will. But it's an Ahsoka. It's a show about Ahsoka, right? So
for sure,
already in this instance, we get to again see that sort of love and care from Hera that is so palpable from Mary Elizabeth's performance. It's absolutely endearing. So
yeah, totally.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead, right?
That's
Is
it.
that-
Yeah. Also, when people say palpable, I can't stop but think Palpatine. I don't know why.
Palpable.
Palpatineable.
Oh.
But let's keep going here. On a gray planet called Cetos, Balin and Shin locate the reflex point as they place the unlocked map on a pedestal in the middle of a stone structure. They call in Morgan, and Balin mentions that the structure was not built by the Jedi and asks Morgan whose work it is. And she responds by telling him it was built by, quote, an ancient people in a distant galaxy. She then asks him if he'd like to see it. She proceeds to use her magic, the very green magic that we know of the Night Sisters, to open the map, which projects out their galaxy with a pathway to another. The pathway to Peridia, once thought to be a Jedi youngling fairy tale, is now a reality laid out in front of them. Morgan says Thrawn calls to her, quote, across time and space. While Balin is doubtful, Morgan tells him the threads of fate do not lie, and that the Eye of Sion is on its way. Balin assures her that Marrok will complete his task, and as Shin questions what's next for both of them, Balin promises her power like she's never believed. So let's dig into this. This is probably going to be the most that we're going to talk on this Watch Club, I think, or on this episode. What does this all mean? Who are the ancient people that Morgan is talking about? And what do you believe Balin, Shin, and Marrok have to gain from all this? Feel free to answer any of those.
I mean, I think it all boils down to new ways to interact with the Force and new belief systems based around this power that is across everything. Because clearly the Night Sisters are ancestors of some race that were galaxy hopping, magicians or witches or whatever, what have you. Because she said the fact that she didn't say the Night Sisters built it, but an ancient peoples, means that this is something that even was before the Night Sisters, has been around forever.
Whoa.
So that's why I think it's probably
one line. Yeah. One line rewrites all of Star Wars history in a sense. Like it's pretty wild to think about, right?
Oh, for sure. And I think that's why, like, you can think back to it, like that's probably why Balin is so intrigued, because going back to this, almost the root of some of this power that he's been introduced to, what secrets can you learn, and how much more will you become connected to this Force and this power through another, civilization's thousands of years of study or whatever. I think that, again, it all comes down to power, and the fact that their lightsabers are more of an orangey red definitely leads to this whole greed factor thing, because orange is associated with greed, and they are constantly hungering for more knowledge or power just to become greater than they are now, I think. And that's so cool.
Interesting.
Well,
Justin.
So I did a little sleuthing, and there is a Darth Sion, and the Eye of Sion could be a way of somehow linking into that. I think this is
wasn't the Eye of Sion just the ship, the giant ship at the
yes,
end?
the Eye of it's but leading into connecting to
Like, why is it called Sion?
Why is it called Sion?
Right, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Cool.
And
Just want to get on the same page.
Yeah, no, for sure. And because like I was surprised because obviously this whole scene is just dropped with like coined terms like Path of Peridia. Peridia, which I'm pretty sure like Peridia sounds Latin for period, so it seems like a time path or some sort of like idea of like time traveling in a way. But Eye of Sion, I looked it up, and there was this character called Darth Sion, and sure enough, people are already online since episode 2's drop talking about the connection between this ship called the Eye of Sion and a Sith Lord from Knights of the Old Republic,
Lord of
Darth
Pain.
Sion. Lord of Pain, yes.
Whoa.
Yeah. So,
and he's missing an eye.
And he's missing an eye. Exactly. So I don't know if it's just the idea, again, like maybe to your point, Darcy, they are rooting it in a history that is so pre our galaxy, that is, you know what I mean? Like that has a sense of sort of mythological roots, that they're kind of just leaning into some of this terminology. And maybe we never actually do see this character named Darth Sion, but instead it's sort of acting on his will, kind of like the brother, right? Like from the Mortis family. I think, in a lot of ways, I watched those episodes recently, just those 3, and it's really interesting how they are set up in a lot of ways to kind of talk about the Force really living through them, and everything outside of them and where they live in Mortis is sort of the balance of it, right? And their balance causes the imbalance outside in the real world, and that's why that story seems so extremely spiritual and yet extremely poetic with everything else we've come to know about the Force. So yeah.
Well, I mean, with the arrival of Thrawn, in canon since Rebels, it's just one of those things where it's like Filoni loves legends. I think there was a line that Ahsoka, I think it's in Rebels. I'm pretty sure she's older when she says it, but she says something about like, there's truth in legends or something like that. I can't quite remember the exact quote. But it's just kind of like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, nudge to the audience to sort of say like, hey, this stuff that's in these books that Disney said isn't canon can still be canon.
Well, the fact that even Morgan herself says another kind of a riff on that in this episode, where like Balin's like, oh, that was just a fairy tale told to the temple. She's like, a fairy tale based on truths. It's
yes. Yeah.
That's all these the history
threads of truth or something never lie.
I love it. I love how they're building up to this greater aspect that, again, I feel like while we're building towards Filoni's movie, we're also almost kind of getting hints dropped for that James Mangold movie about the dawn of the Jedi and the dawn of the Force, which I think is really cool. The fact that I'm now talking about two separate movies that are on the horizon from this one episode. So he clearly has the greater picture in mind when writing some of this stuff.
That's huge. And I mean, in my mind, I think the path to Peridia, I think the world between worlds is a location on that path. I think the symbols, on the map, when you go back and watch that Rebels episode like you've been doing, Justin, it's like the visual language perfectly matches up with everything we see in this episode. I loved seeing the Purrgils as glyphs around the ring, almost in a sense of like you were saying, Darcy, like maybe they're migrating and this is part of their migration path. And I just want to shout out, Kevin Kiner for the music, but also he must have been working with the sound designers in this moment, because the moment when Balin, when they sort of the first section when they actually put the map on the pedestal, you hear like he looks up and you hear like whale sounds, like Purrgil whale sounds, and I'm just like, I just love when Star Wars gives those subtle audio-based Easter eggs where I'm just like, I know that that's music, but it's also, I don't know, I love it.
I still can't decide. I watched back one point when he's looking up at the sky there. Don't we see Purrgils in the clouds? Like there are dark shapes moving in the clouds above him as he's talking about it. Yeah, like when you hear those whale sounds.
Go back and watch it now.
Like I watched it 3 times and I still can't decide if I saw it or if I was just making it up because I wanted to see it. Like
it could be something very elusive though. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of sprinkled something in like that. But I think again it's there's gonna be something more than just time travel that we're being introduced to here. And I think it's already been alluded to in episodes like the 3-part from Clone Wars with focus on Mortis, and the episode from Rebels, World Between Worlds, very much sort of already setting the groundwork for what we're going to see and what is possible outside of this galaxy. And I think Purrgils are definitely the gateway, as we've dubbed. They're the gateway. So who knows what lies beyond that? Because if you really go back and watch Mortis, it is a weird episode. Those 3 episodes play more like a horror soap opera. It's really strange. But there's just such great little tidbits in it that really do allude to such a symbolism that we've already seen through Star Wars. Like even the fact that you have Darth Vader, the father, and 2 kids, a daughter and a son. You know what I mean? Like, and they were very much a replica of the father, daughter, son mashup, and the idea that the son had to sort of avoid the dark side, right? So he's doing all of this very instinctually and very much on the idea of there's something more that is more important than what we've known, and I'm excited. At least I don't know. Maybe I'm building it up too much. Am I building it up too much?
No, I don't think so. That's what we do as geeks. That's what we have to do.
Am I like Mephistoing the shit out of this right now? Like I don't know, but Mortis-fisto. But it's really great to think that like some of the most outstanding, most like and for lack of better words, oddball episodes from a very conventional animated show, both dealing with similar topics. There's reason to that, I think.
Right. Yeah. I also want to just quickly mention in terms of, because I asked the question of like, what do Balin, Shin, and Marrok have to gain from all this? I think they're absolutely being used as pawns, and they just don't know it yet. I think Balin even says in this moment that I feel the path forward is clouded, and I think it's clouded because I think it's clearly not clouded for Morgan Elsbeth, and I think she's using them, and I think as soon as they're disposable, I think she's going to get rid of them. But I also feel like for Morgan, I think Thrawn is absolutely using her and making promises to her that maybe she'll get to see or embrace her culture again, or she'll be, you were never a full Night Sister, now I will make you a full, whatever it is. I think that she's absolutely disposable as well in all this, and that it's very much an Emperor situation that we've got going on.
With Thrawn as the Emperor?
Yeah, like as in that position, for sure.
Sure.
He's playing all the parts. It's chess.
Thrawn doesn't like disposable, though.
No?
Like, that's not Thrawn's thing. He's all about utilizing people for their strengths and
forever,
and using
though?
them. Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's why he has such a long relationship, though. With
his whole story in the books, like the reintroduction of his story, is about his relationship with this ensign he enters the academy with, a human male, or whatever, who's just only good thing is that he understands how to manipulate shipping manifestos or whatever, and he ends up rising through the ranks with Thrawn to the point where Thrawn sends him back to the Chiss Ascendancy to be like, you're going to be my go-to guy between my people and who I am now. It's like. He would not. Thrawn isn't the type of person to build a relationship with someone just to cast him by the wayside.
Okay.
That's never been his MO.
I mean, space and time can change a person. You spend enough time with those Purrgils, go a little insane. Maybe we're getting an unhinged Thrawn. I don't know.
That's interesting. I wonder though too. Like, I think you're on the right page though to say that, Morgan is using Balin and Shinhati and Marrok as well. But I think that Balin is very much using Morgan.
100%. I was going to say that too.
And there's intention here. Like he says, like ultimate power, like power. Right, like I think he says not ultimate power. That's
power like you could not believe.
Yeah. Power like you could not believe, and again, that alludes to this idea of you called it out last week, like the symbolism between the three of them being very similar to that of the father, daughter, and son. But Marrok, we don't know. They refer to as they. So.
On StarWars.com it says they. So
but they
said he. Yep, absolutely.
Balin and Shin have said hey.
Yeah, I feel like that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk a little bit more about that.
Sure, we'll get to that. But anyways, just on that, I just think that like the idea that there's still a politics that's going on in this whole situation.
Yeah.
And I think they are mutually beneficial to one another, Morgan and Balin, and they're exploiting that. And it'll be interesting to see who ends up coming out on top in terms of getting the upper hand. Because it's very Game of Thrones, right? Like in the sense of like one of them is going to die.
Ooh. Okay, let's keep going here then. On Corellia, Ahsoka and Hera meet with Min Weaver, the regional supervisor. Just such a funny, like, I'm the regional supervisor of a disassembly.
He's a regional supervisor kind of guy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
That actor nailed that performance.
He's from House, isn't he from House, that guy?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
The regional supervisor of the disassembly plant, Hera pulls rank and forces Min to give them a tour of the facility. During the tour, Hera asks Ahsoka to consider taking Sabine back on as her apprentice, but Ahsoka says she's not ready. Meanwhile, back at the medical bay on Lothal, Sabine wakes up and Hu Yang is impressed that she still has her lightsaber. He suggests she starts training again. He tells Sabine that the past is the past and that she should move forward. But Sabine compares her capabilities to in the Force to Ezra and doubts Ahsoka's interest in even taking her back. Hu Yang tells her the only time she's wasting is her own and hands her lightsaber. So, Justin, what are your thoughts on Sabine claiming Ezra's lightsaber and the consistent comparisons she keeps, sort of having of herself to Ezra?
Well, I think the idea of the comparison between her and Ezra is, she felt a very familial connection to Ezra.
Yeah.
That was, like the kid brother. mentality, and I think she feels entirely responsible for why he's gone. I think part of the reason why she's not able to fully let go is because she is still clinging on to things, memories, objects like Ezra's lightsaber as a means to sort of keep herself going, if you will. But I think at the end of the day, it's not helping her.
No.
I think there's a sense of that tradition, obviously, as well, that goes into, building a lightsaber that might have been passed on to you, and Sabine is Mandalorian. That is important to her. It has the it wears the war and where it came from. Her armor is a symbol of that, and I think the lightsaber, obviously, she's kind of bringing that in to her sort of belief of why she can own or take hold of Ezra's lightsaber. But again, this is just another moment where we're getting these little hints of a past that we don't get to see, which is nice. Like I don't think we need flashbacks. We don't need flashbacks. You know what I mean? Like at this point, I don't think we really should have them unless they're very relevant. Like I would totally go for a flashback like Ahsoka and Anakin. I think that's deserving and that's warranted. But the things with Sabine and Ahsoka, I think we can resolve some of that through dialogue and how things are kind of handled here and how things are sort of hinted at. I think giving us a flashback might just answer all those questions. Whereas I think, again, the idea of like Star Wars, before we got the prequels was, the story of Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker and where they came from. It all came from this idea of what we didn't know beforehand. We were in this story, right?
Yeah, but at that point, it wasn't as integral to the story. We were on a new adventure, and that none of the past was bogging that down. Whereas this seems like if we're only going to get it through dialogue and expositional dumps, like I got to say that Hera interaction while they're on the tour felt so out of place. They're touring a facility. They're on a mission that might be still have Imperial remnants and loyalists about. And they're talking about some very personal social.
It's true. That is true.
Commentary.
I agree with you there.
It feels very out of place. And
It was
if
a
that's
bit
how we're
clunky.
going to get this past.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be
while
a fan
they're
of that.
while they're
like
in between moments of like
exactly
doing
and just filling in. I was like, oh, so remember this time you had.
I agree with
Sabine?
that. Yeah.
To me, I feel like a flashback could deal with this. Telling that story a bit better compared to what we've got so
And
far.
quicker.
So
Yeah.
yes,
well, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the idea too is that it would be quicker, but I don't know. I kind of enjoy the sort of the little bits. I think the moment with Hu Yang and Sabine very much feels more like a properly placed moment where we get to identify that and we get to have this emotional connection with what we haven't seen, but understand what it weighs on Sabine. And then to your point, an oddly placed moment that feels like it's just not an appropriate time to be talking about something that is very personal. It's obviously very close to both of them because they're obviously look at Sabine as sort of a sister student, kind of relationship, daughter, whatever you want to call it. So I think that again, it's just another example of how, to your point, if they're going to do expositional dumps like this, then it needs to be better placed, like the Sabine one.
Yeah,
So.
don't do an expositional jump while you're taking an expositional dump. It gets really messy.
Yeah, it is a jump. I guess it is.
I wanted to mention like the modifications to Ezra's lightsaber. I think mean two things. One, it gives Disney the opportunity to sell jerks like Darcy and I the same saber over again with Sabine's name on it.
I'm now questioning whether the Ezra's lightsaber coming later this year is going to be the actual one or now Sabine's.
Is it going to be now?
Did she just get tired of putting it together and like permanently affix the two pieces together?
Right.
She's like, fuck it, I'm just save some time. It's always together.
It's just this is how it is. But I think it also shows us, like you were saying, Justin, Ezra was so important to Sabine. He became so much a part of her life and still is, for better or for worse. And I think the saber modifications, especially the fact that they're mentioned by Hu Yang, is a lesson in a way. It's Hu Yang sort of saying this is the perfect symbol for what I'm trying to tell you. The past is the past. This is Ezra's lightsaber. But now it's time to make those modifications necessary to move forward and claim your own spot in this universe. You don't need to compare yourself to him. And just shout out to Hu Yang for being an incredible teacher and mentor after all these years out of the game. Like, he hasn't had to do that for such a long time, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and the fact that, again, he was all about building their lightsabers being a rite of passage for a Jedi, and the fact that he is so quick to be like, you've grown intimate with this weapon, you've made your own modifications, you've made it your own.
He's so wise.
That's all it takes for you to become connected to this item. So he is, I love Hu Yang.
He's great.
Yeah, he's incredibly wise, and I think it does have a lot to do with the nature of the work that he's done, right? Like working with lightsabers, understanding the importance of the weapon,
and younglings.
Well, that's what I mean.
Right.
Understanding the importance to the younglings and the the Padawans as you pointed out, as he is talking with Sabine, like helps them figure out their shit, more or less, right? And that seems like what Hu Yang's doing in this moment for it. It's a really nice moment. I really enjoyed it.
And I love his Hu Yang-isms. I think when Sabine says, "I forgot how annoying you are," he's like, logical. And like, or he calls Sabine's recovery repairs because he's a droid.
That was a great little moment. Yep.
Yeah. I like the one when Sabine's like, oh yeah, like it could blow up, and she's like, I think we should do this in another location here. It's like, no, I say go for it, and he's like, because you're a hologram.
You're a hologram.
Because you're a hologram.
So good.
And I laughed really hard when that happened.
Wonderful. Back on Corellia, Ahsoka and Hera are brought to the control center, and Hera sees a hyperdrive core refurbished from an SSD, which I love is a super star destroyer, I'm assuming, which Weaver claims is for the New Republic. But once Weaver denies Hera more information, she pulls rank again and tries to attempt to force his hand. Ahsoka brings up the HK assassin droid, and a nearby protocol droid says that they saw one and that it's departing on the transport carrying the hyperdrive core. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, do they not have what are those bolts that they would put on those droids?
Inhibitor chips,
right? Like they wouldn't have those sort of things on. I don't know.
That's the Republic. They don't use that type of stuff, man.
I guess, but they aren't the Republic. Anyways,
this droid was though. That's what I'm saying. This droid.
Right. Leave it to the protocol droid to follow protocol and rat them out, right?
Yeah, that's why I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
So Hera orders the crew to stop the ship, but once they deny her, one of them shouts, "For the Empire!" and they begin to attack. The two of them, Hera and Ahsoka, take the crew out, and Ahsoka begins to chase the ship on foot. She's stopped by Marrok and another HK assassin droid. They spar, but unfortunately, Marrok escapes and they lose the hyperdrive core. But thankfully, Hera, and especially Chopper, managed to place a tracking device on the transport. So let's discuss this fight with Marrok. What an incredible duel. I think this is so far with the most that we've seen of Marrok between these two episodes. Darcy, who do you think they are? And what do you think, what did you think of this fight?
Again, I don't know who they could be. I love the whole idea that it could be Barisafi. I also saw someone saying that it could be Ezra, which I thought, interesting. There's something to unpack there. But really, the fact that we get so little of this character, they're either going to be impactful, like being a Barisafi or an Ezra or someone we've seen before, Quinlan Voss potentially, someone who is a Jedi that has tampered with the dark side and wants to follow the order. They maybe went fully that way. Or it's just going to be someone for like Sabine to get her moment and show that she is moving up the ranks, get a nice kill, and keep going on and fighting. Like, I have no idea where it's going to go. It could go either way with how they're portraying it. The duel, I will say, was incredible. This is some of the most fluid lightsaber fighting we've seen in a while, like between Ahsoka and Marrok. It was so great. And this, like, I was getting Sentai vibes from it, like very much Power Rangers fighting style with the acrobatics. But
sure.
The more I watched it, the more I realized that's why I enjoy this fight, because it was a new style of fighting that we haven't seen so much in live action. Whereas in animated form, we saw so many different lightsaber styles that kind of, you forget about it. But when it's done on the live stage between two actors, there's such a beauty to it. I love it.
So good. So good.
There's a more tactical hand-to-hand
100%,
to it. And I think it works really well. I'm on the basis that I think it could be someone important. I think the fight style in this moment kind of looks, if you look at specific moments, it looks like they know each other based on the way that they're fighting. And I think that Barisafi, I think, is the likeliest person, and I think it makes the most sense, given the fact that her path wasn't necessarily to go to the dark side, but she was definitely very had dark tendencies, if you will, right? Given the whole situation of, causing, framing Ahsoka, causing her to then distrust the Jedi and leave her teachings, before becoming a Jedi, or an official Jedi Knight. So I don't know. I think in a lot of ways, it would be the perfect thing, the perfect character to have. But that said, I don't know. It could be anyone. We know there's no Inquisitors at this point,
Right.
Because I believe Kanan and Ahsoka were the ones that took out all the Inquisitors, essentially, but in the finale of season 2. So they're no longer a thing. So, but this is someone that obviously has built their blade and their saber to kind of emulate that, or who knows if
Or just
they didn't.
stolen them from them, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It might make sense that there is something there. What if it's Reva though?
Reva. That would be crazy. She'd be, I don't know how old she'd be.
Yeah.
It could work.
She'd be 40 something, probably in her 50s. I don't know.
She keeps up with the cardio. I'm sure she could pull that off. Justin, were you joking off air? You think you said it could be Jason Syndulla? Was it you that said that? I can't remember.
I think I might have joked about it, but I don't think we acknowledged it.
It's like wow, Hera really has no idea what's going on with her son. I think this third act really kicked the episode into high gear. I do want to just touch upon the Barriss Offee theory for 1 second, but just before I do though, the fight, dude, so good, so kinetic. I loved when they both destroyed the droid as if it's just a casualty. Like they're like, just to continue the fight, they're like, oh, their sabers both go through the droid at the same time. And the no look dodge with Ahsoka at the end.
Yeah.
Freaking so badass. It was the coolest thing I think I've ever seen her do. It was very Ahsoka. And then even Kevin Kiner's music in this moment when she's stopped by Marrok, there's a very subtle, for like 3 seconds, a duel of the fates, it's like a da 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 da, and I'm just like, let's go. And then I think as far as Barriss Offee, it was confirmed that she died on Felucia during Order 66. Okay. However, in the words of the great Emperor Palpatine, the dark side is a gateway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. What if Offee was brought back from the dead by Morgan Elsbeth? Right? We know that that's something they can do.
That's a Night Sister thing.
That's a very Night Sister thing. And I know it would throw the idea that they're a conduit for the son, that she's a conduit, or that Marrok is a conduit for the son of Mortis. I know that would kind of throw it off if it's Barriss. But I would be so okay with that. If we're getting like almost like an undead Force zombie in a way. I don't know. Maybe that's going a little too far with things, but I think it'd be pretty crazy.
I like the idea that it's Jason Syndulla.
Now your joke has become a reality. Yeah. Hera, that's why she doesn't say anything about it. She's so upset. But someone that was saying a lot in this episode was Chopper. Dave Filoni confirmed Chopper's voice yet again. And I think they're doing it in a more talkative way, right? Like, he definitely says, "Did you go through my stuff?"
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
and he says, "I got it." And like,
yeah.
Oh, how can you not smile with Chopper? Like, just give us a Chopper miniseries, dudes. Come on, please. Make it happen. Okay, sorry, I'm rambling here. Back at the tower, Sabine reunites with her past self as she puts on her Mandalorian armor, and ceremoniously, she cuts her hair. We see that Min Weaver and his crew, they were all still loyal to the Empire, and now they've been arrested. Then Sabine calms in and tells Ahsoka she's ready. In a very epic moment. We then get a moment where Sabine takes one long look at the mural of her, I'm going to say, family, and she turns around, and in the beautiful sunset of Lothal, she joins Ahsoka. Hu Yang informs them that the transport that they got the tracker on was traced to the Denab system and remains in orbit around the planet Cetos. Ahsoka and Sabine immediately take to the stars, and Ahsoka says, "Take us out, Padawan," as Sabine Wren is now again under her instruction. So really quickly, going back to the moment of Sabine looking at the mural. I wanted to ask both of you, and feel free either of you to chime in. Is this the scene from the finale of Rebels, or is it meant to pay homage to that moment? And maybe that moment in Rebels was the first time that Ahsoka began her training. Sabine began her training with Ahsoka. Do you understand what I'm trying to ask here?
No, I understand it. It's like, are we seeing the moment that we saw already in animation now again as live action? So are they actually the same moments that are just repeating? I was under the impression too, because there's so much that is like to a T the exact
The
same.
finger
but
tap
I don't know.
on Ezra's face, right? Like,
Just even her entrance into the room was the exact same from Rebels.
Exact same.
And it's just the fact that the mural was in this tower already at that point too, where we just saw it, like the unveiling of it at the beginning of the series.
Maybe I'm wondering if the moment that we saw in Rebels is this moment.
yeah.
Is this moment of time having passed? And I think, almost in a way, as Filoni wrote, maybe probably or put together the ending, he sort of interjected as a scene of this is how she is going to become her Padawan,
Right.
and sort of like now he's able to bring that to life, right? And I think, that's if it is, then kudos to planting that seed and seeing it too, because everything from shot to shot, like people broke it down already, like
except for certain accessories.
Yes.
Like Ahsoka doesn't have her lightsabers; she has the staff
In the animated one.
in the animated one, and then in the animated, Sabine doesn't have Ezra's lightsaber; she still has her two blasters on her hip.
Yep.
So
Sabine's also wearing the helmet when she walks back in
she
that
puts
moment,
it on, and then
right?
she puts it on and then goes.
The
Yeah,
entrance of that room because I rewatched the animated one as well, where it's all destroyed and here it's all clean. So like I go back and forth on what I do or do not believe. But in the original, Sabine does say, she says, "But one day I realized there was something else I was meant to do." But one day. And so in my mind, I feel like that could very much mean that we've caught up to the one day that we saw back in that finale.
Hair
and maybe
wasn't short enough if that's the case.
Maybe
she didn't go close enough to the scalp there.
But again, we're like, this is the thing where it's like, I'm sure hopefully Filoni will one day grace us with the actual answer to, was that moment this or that? Probably a fan's going to bring it up. But I mean, regardless, either way, it's a beautiful homage if it's an homage, and if it's a recreation, it's a beautiful recreation, and it's if it is very much like Filoni had this plan all along back from the finale of Rebels to be like, one day we're going to do an Ahsoka series, and I'm going to interject this scene. Awesome, very cool. I don't,
No, but you know how how that ending feels like a what do they call that after the ending?
It's an epilogue.
Epilogue.
It's referred to as Sabine's epilogue as well.
Yes. Perfect. So you know what I mean? Like, as an epilogue, you sort of spit out some ideas of like what happens next for the future of these characters,
right?
And it's not necessarily so concise or so direct. There's just looseness as to like what would happen, and I'm wondering if that's why we got some of those elements at the end of Rebels in a way to say that there's a place for these characters in future stories, and now to your point, he's catching up to the point where he can tell those stories, right? Because it seems strange if you're going to say it's in canon and then you're just recreating the moment again. Do you know what I mean? And it's like it happened before and it happened here. Like I could forgive like, oh, she has a staff or the accessories are different, because at a time you don't know what you're really going to tell, what that story is going to look like. The point is that this is a integral moment of maybe that what it was. They're going to find Ezra. This is essentially them going to find Ezra, right? So
I guess my big thing about the accessories is that we knew how close Sabine was to Ezra at that point, and that she had Ezra's lightsaber after he disappeared. So her wearing it on her waist wouldn't necessarily make us all think, oh, she's a Padawan in Rebels. It would just be like, oh, she's going to go find Ezra and take his lightsaber back to him. That's kind of like the mission symbolization. So the fact that that's not there makes me think this is just an homage to it in a very on the point and on the nose way, because like maybe that, like Nate said, that was the first time she was stepping away to become the Padawan, and now we're seeing her return to her journey in the same way that apparently kicked off, which we didn't know about. So I don't know, I'm all for
Either or, yeah.
Either or. I just hope that we do get confirmation. I guess
For
that
sure.
that would be.
Well, it's cool that we're talking
satisfying
about
thing.
it.
Yeah.
It's,
Oh, yeah,
and
it's a
enough
great
people
talking point.
online, enough people online too have been talking about it as well, just for how direct it was. And I'm glad I wasn't. We're not the only ones that when we watched it, last week, we were thinking the same thing. It's just like, why is it so literal with it? And when we saw it in the trailers, we assumed they were flashbacks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We assumed they were flashbacks. So at the end of the day, it's clear now that they're not. So at the end of the day, does it really matter? You're probably right. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I don't know.
Well, I think there's also Filoni really loves to reference how much he's inspired by Tolkien, and we've got Ahsoka in the white in that first in the animated, and then Ahsoka the gray in the live action. So
Taking a step back.
correct,
Wow.
exactly. But that's what. But that's what I mean, Darcy. Is that like we're seeing Ahsoka in a moment in her life where maybe she doesn't feel like she should be wearing a white robe,
Right.
whereas back then
She's a bit gray.
Back then, maybe she was very much like, okay, I'm gonna rock this white robe because I'm a
Silver Fox. Yes.
I don't know. Anyways, let's keep going here. To the final part of the episode, we see the final hyperdrive core being added to the. Every time I want to say the Eye of Sauron, especially with all the Tolkien talk. We see the final hyperdrive core being added to the Eye of Sion as Morgan addresses Balin, Shin, and Marrok. Balin worries about Ahsoka, saying she is coming and that to kill her would be a shame. Morgan responds by saying sentimental, and he responds with one word: truth. So, for the final question here before we get to our predictions and our wrap-up, what is the Eye of Sion? And I guess we kind of know. We've talked about that. It's a ship. But do you think Balin is going to stay loyal to Morgan Elsbeth in all this?
Well, again, as I was mentioning before, the fact that it's called the Eye of Sion, and there's a character named Darth Sion, the painkiller from Knights of the Old Republic. There might be a sense of lore and mythology attached to all of this,
Right?
that is steeped in that, and hence why they're calling it the Eye of Zion. Eye of Sion is that it takes them to a place, sort of like almost like the concept. I know it's a little hokey, but like the third eye, the place that you can't see,
Right.
Yeah. And the sense of interconnectivity. And I think that again that is the way that they're going to get us to this gateway or open this gateway between galaxies, so that we can see Purrgils, because we know they're coming. We know that they're coming at some point.
I just want to see a
which
Purrgil.
is going to be, it's going to be amazing to see it in live action, because even in the clips and the promo, it looks fantastic.
Right. We got a little bit of a tease of them in Mando, with little Grogu seeing
but
them.
like I'm seeing like actual live action versions, not just immersive, sort of like elusive in the hyperspace side of things.
Yeah.
Right, we're seeing like actual like whales in space. It's going to be phenomenal.
It's gonna be dope.
But yeah, I think that it's to your point of what you were saying as well too about with Balin. Is he going to stay true? I think that this is a classic sort of Game of Thrones mutually beneficial relationship, and one of them is going to get the upper hand and take the other one out.
Oof.
I don't know. I'm thinking it's going to be Morgan who's going to bite the dust, in all honesty.
Interesting.
Well, especially because the ship that she's standing on is where we've seen the Thrawn turning around in the
walks,
trailer.
yeah.
That's on that bridge of that ship, which I gotta say is making me think of prequel. Like that's the hyperdrive rings that Anakin and Obi-Wan had to use for their starfighters.
But like a much bigger version of it, right?
A massive version to go farther.
Yeah, I was thinking
that's
that.
immediately what I thought. So I
love
thought
that.
that was cool. Yeah, I definitely think that again, this relationship is tenuous between the two groups, and once they get to the other side of this journey, I think it's all up in the air as to how it could play out.
Well, and I love that Morgan says the final hyperdrive, which means there's more than one. And then I went back and I looked at the ring, and you can count like 9 of them.
Yeah.
Which, like, dude, if one hyperdrive lets you to travel like vast distances of space, 9 hyperdrives.
It's going to rip a hole through space and time.
That's
man.
insane.
It's going to.
That's so nuts. And I think that allowing you to see into maybe the past or the future through the eye of Sauron. But
Just keep mentioning the eye. It just popped up like the High Republic. That's what they called the leader of the bad guys. The Nihil was the Eye of the Storm, and
okay,
Going back to that, sorry, that just
That's
popped in my head.
okay.
You mentioned
It
the
popped in
eye
your
so
head
many
like a third
times.
eye.
Another name reference that could be connected to something. So.
Yeah. No, I think it's, again, we know Filoni, again, is no stranger to being like, well, I was reading this the other day, or rereading most likely this book the other day, and I want to put that in this into canon. As for Balin, he's definitely going to betray Morgan. I think that there's he seems like he doesn't want any more Jedi blood spilled at all, whether they're against him or for his cause. And we do see in the trailer he does go up against Ahsoka, but I think at the end of the day, I think he's going to I think he's actually going to sacrifice himself. And I think that he's going to start to have some realization that he's making similar mistakes to the Jedi, that the Jedi made during the Clone Wars, which he would have grown up through, right? And so I think he might start to see like, oh shoot, like I'm just as naive as they are, for as smart and as much wisdom as I believe I have. So I get that feeling, that sense that he's going to see the light and maybe be a little less dark.
I feel like that's why he's just not not so on board with Morgan, is because he doesn't want to be a pawn like the Jedi were to the Republic.
Totally.
So
But I think he doesn't want to, but I think he absolutely.
No, but I think the difference
will
is
be.
that he has to know how much he's giving and how much he's taking, right? Like the difference is that the Jedi were naive, right? He's not. He's definitely not. And I think that he is set in his ways, and I think he has a respect for Ahsoka because he knows where she comes from, because as we learned last episode, Balin built his saber at the Jedi Temple, right? And Huyang knows who he is. So there is a sense of him having an appreciation for his roots, but I think he, like to your point, as you were mentioning before, Nate, he doesn't agree with the way the Jedi perceived things and handled things. Very Dooku in a lot of ways. So I would be interested to see. I don't think he's going to sacrifice himself, and I know we're kind of getting into predictions here.
Yeah.
But I do think that the confrontation that we've seen in the marketing material will happen next episode. Watching it, I watched a trailer came up while I was waiting for a YouTube video, and sure enough, I saw those scenes again in the marketing, and it's clear that it's happening on that ridge
On Cetos.
Where the map. So they're actually surrounded by the map. For all this time, I was thinking that it was the world between worlds where they were going to confront each other. But it seems like now you can see rock structures and stuff in the background that he activates the map, or she must activate the map and then confronts them. And
she's catching up to him in the next episode.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure. And I don't think that that'll be the end of it. Right.
Interesting.
Well, it's the fact that you mentioned that the fight happens on Cetos. I also think that next episode we will see Purrgils, because when we saw them in the trailer, they're flying through a very cloudy area, and you see the Purrgil kind of come through the clouds beside them, which is, again, I'm pretty sure we saw them in this
We got to go
episode.
back to see how high you were.
In the sky.
Well, you were watching
I was very high, but I watched it multiple times, okay?
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, that I know like this whole thing is predictions, but we still have a prediction segment because, damn it, I want to have a cheesy prediction segment. So that brings us to our prediction segment of the episode, which I like to call I Want to Know What's Gonna Happen Next. So Darcy, I want to know. I want Tano know what's going to happen next.
We're going to see Purrgils in the next episode. I mean, that's really all I can say, because what they're diving into in the greater picture of the story is so unknown in terms of Star Wars, so unexplored. It's hard for me to be like, oh, it's going to be this, because I don't know what's on the other end of that star bridge or whatever we're going to call it. But I cannot wait to find out. I do know this confrontation is going to happen, though, like Justin said. Like the next episode is probably going to be just as juicy as this one, and I cannot wait to see what happens.
Delicious.
We're going to spend another hour and a bit talking about it. I've given all my predictions throughout this episode. I think that Marrok is going to matter to Ahsoka, and it makes sense to do that, especially given, again, from the marketing material, it seems like the two of them do really go at it at one point in this at some point in this series, outside, at least twice in the marketing material. So we've only seen one in this episode, and I think it's going to happen again. Maybe next episode, maybe the episode after, based on again the environment that they're fighting in. But yeah, I think that Purgils are bound to happen. I'm wondering if Purgils will be the episode after. In my opinion, I think it could be, and I think that this is them definitely catching up and confronting their threat. And maybe not everybody makes it out. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
It seems so early to be calling that someone's death, but I think something's going to happen here that's going to be intense, because I know Shinhati is going to definitely go one-on-one with
Sabine.
Sabine at some point. And that's going to be interesting.
So we've been doing a lot of speculation. So I've got like a medium level speculation, and then I've got a large speculation that's a little more broad. But my medium level speculation is, I think it is possible that the Master and Apprentice could potentially not be so much Sabine and Ahsoka, but maybe Sabine and Morgan. I'm wondering if, very much like a Palpatine-esque style, if we get sort of a repeat there where maybe Morgan sort of promises Sabine the power that she's unable to achieve through the Force. And I'm wondering if maybe there's... I'm not saying it absolutely will happen, but I'm wondering if there will be at some point a temptation for Sabine to maybe be like, should I consider becoming a Night Sister? Look at the power that Morgan has that she's promising me, or what have you. I mean, we've got 8 episodes to go through. So, as you said, Darcy, once we get to the other side of this thing, who knows what all these characters are going to be doing, right? And it's just to sort of think about the long game of someone like Morgan Elsbeth, does she maybe, she's using the 3 of them, and maybe Sabine there's something important about her. She's the one that actually unlocked the map. Like, why wouldn't Morgan, know how to unlock the map? I don't know.
I don't think I think she knew how to unlock the map. I just don't think she got to the map in time.
Darcy's being happy.
I may have been
Chopper.
a bad podcast guest, but I just went back on my phone here and pulled up the scene where you do see a Purrgil
really
in the sky,
okay,
in the clouds.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
We got confirmation
Right just after Balin places the map on the pedestal.
Okay, cool.
Then the camera pans up to the clouds, and right before it cuts back to his face, you see a Purrgil breach through the one cloud.
Well, there you go.
Very distantly.
Okay, I love it.
Chills. I like it when I remember things right.
You got it. I think, other than like the dark magic stuff with Sabine as like a medium level prediction, my broader prediction is that this whole thing is leading to potentially getting stuck in the other galaxy. So by the end of this series, we aren't coming back to the Star Wars galaxy we know. I think it could, overall, this show could potentially start to split Star Wars as we know it into 2 separate overarching stories that still in some way connect to each other, obviously with these characters. But I think there's so many story opportunities with this distant galaxy. And I think there's so much room left between where we are and the events of The Force Awakens. So I think we're going to be spending a lot more time in this Filoni-verse of characters, because like you were saying, Darcy, the movies that have been announced already, at least 2 of them really are going to deal with a lot of the stuff that we're sort of getting set up here. And I don't think that we see further into the future, obviously, until episode, 10, if you will, of the Charmin obeyed Chinoise. I don't know if they're going to call it episode 10, but the movie involving Rey, we're not going to get that for what? I'm going to say 4-5 years, I'm assuming.
It's still a ways out,
right?
For sure, probably.
So we've got to have some stuff in the interim, and I think that's exactly what they're looking at Filoni to craft right now. Anyways, I know that's a bit sort of like maybe, probably, obviously. Let's get to our overall thoughts and final score. For this episode, we're going to be rating this episode on a scale of 1 to 5 chopper trackers. And Justin, we're going to have you go first.
Yeah, this is a great follow-up to part 1. I think that it continues the intrigue and mystery, and it dives deeper into elements of each of these characters' past. As we pointed out, it wasn't all very thoughtful. You have a moment with Sabine and Huyang that's really meaningful, but then you have a very forced moment with Hera and Ahsoka as they're interim, getting to a place during a mission. It just felt really odd,
clunky.
So I hope that we get a little bit more of a better placement for these moments within the narrative that makes sense, rather than to your point, Darcy, as we were talking about it, being expositional dumps, because I do think that there's a beauty in not having to always see everything that's happened in the past, but having a sense of understanding emotionally how it's affected people. And I think that's very relevant for like characters like Sabine, Ahsoka, and Hera, given the fact of what we know from Rebels and what we also haven't seen in between Rebels and now. Again, that said, I think it continues a lot of the same elements as part one. Outstanding production, great choreography. We got more lightsaber duels. We got some funny little moments as well. So it was great. But I think this will definitely, again, it could be this episode could be scored higher depending on how everything else kind of comes together. But for now, I'm going to temper my expectations, and I'm going to be giving this a 4 out of 5 chopper trackers.
Nice.
There you go.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Darcy, how about yourself?
I mean, again, strong follow up to part one. I'm having a lot of the same, excitement coming off of the second episode as I did the first one, even more so because we're starting to, again, peel back the layers of where we're going to be going, which is beyond any galaxy we've known before. And what we could find there is older than anything we've ever known. So that's very intriguing to me. And I love how we're going to be exploring that through both sides of the Force with, Night Sisters and Balin kind of representing the dark side, and then Ahsoka and Sabine representing more the light side. I think it's really neat to, again, explore history through these two lenses that we already know so well. So I can't wait to see that. Again, the fighting was great. The only thing that I had an issue with was some of that forced dialogue and out of place, exposition dumps again, where we might have gotten this all in one flashback, but they're breaking it up over 6 or 7 forced conversations in weird places. I'm not sure if I'll really, resonate with that story if that's the only way we're getting it. So a mix of the two would be ideal, I think. So hopefully down the road, we will see something that will shed a lot of light while not giving us all the answers. Cause I think that a bit of visual would be nice to see. But on that note, I'll be giving this one a solid 4.5 out of 5 chopper trackers, if only for that extra 0.5 over Justin, because Chopper being absolutely awesome in this episode. More Chopper, please.
Oh, all the Chopper. Just give us a Chopper episode.
I want a Chopper episode.
A bottle episode of
be a
Chopper?
bottleneck episode of just Chopper, where he gets stuck on a ship or something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I would love
all
that.
you hear is it's people calming into him, being like, "Where are you, Chopper? We need this right now." And
then I want to see him. I want to see him like steal someone's gun and steal someone else's gun and just come rolling through,
blasting dual blasters,
shooting everyone, like going crazy. And
say hello to my little friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. I think this episode dropped a bit of the grandiose pomp that you need in a premiere episode, and they went with a few more like sort of smaller moments. I think that being said, though, the setup we got from those smaller moments gave us a ton to chew on and speculate, as you can tell by the runtime of this episode of Watch Club. I think the third act is where this episode shines. The fight with Ahsoka and Marrok was so badass, and yeah, Darcy, Chopper was the MVP in this episode for sure. The chills that I felt going back to see the maybe recreation / homage of that sequence from Rebels with the mural, I think it was fantastic, and it just shows you just sort of how detailed they are in connecting this to the broader story, from Rebels. I think the overarching story is set up really well. But like both of you were saying, I think the pacing and the structure of this episode, there was a little bit of backtracking going on that felt a little unnecessary. Just a sequence where two characters shared a dialogue for maybe like 10, 15 seconds and then cut away and then cut back to that moment. I thought it was a little unnecessary. I don't know if we needed necessarily to be jumping around so much. And I think some of that dialogue is a little stinted. I think especially that sequence that you're referring to, where, and I noticed it so much more on like my third rewatch, but with Hera and Sabine on that, as they're getting that tour, it's just Hera and Ahsoka, as they're getting that tour, they're just very much like, here's a line, and then there's pause, and then here's a line, and then there's pause, and it's very slow and dramatic I'm like, wouldn't you need to yell? Like you're in a loud factory and they're talking so
Yeah.
quietly. I don't
And
know.
wind whipping by. Yeah.
What's funny though too is that it really wasn't actually an essential conversation. They weren't talking about anything we didn't already experience.
Correct.
Right?
Mhm,
They're just reminiscing, like, so how did, like, Hera's like, how did it go?
Yeah.
Like it seemed to work well with Sabine. He's like, you know, Sabine, like she's so difficult, right? Well, you know, you're also difficult.
Yeah.
I know I can be difficult, but she's a different
They
kind
could
of
have
difficult.
they could have planted
It
this
just
scene.
felt like-
They could have planted
yeah.
this scene as the people.
They're flying.
Sure, no, but
They're
or
flying
like as the you know what is his name, Min Weaver was getting arrested. They could have wrapped up that part of the conversation, and then Hera could have turned to her and had this exact same conversation. It would have felt just as forced, but it wouldn't have felt out of place as much.
Out of place, I guess.
right?
Yeah. So we've dealt with that. Now back to the original. problem.
Correct.
Yeah, but also given the fact that she would be leaving at that point,
Yeah.
and she is going to go follow up with Sabine,
Yeah.
it would be like, listen, give her a shot, give it another go. You know what I mean? You don't know, because you think you know something doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? Like I don't know.
Well,
just-
especially because the fact that would have also been more like there would be more, would almost resonate more with her going on the ship and then immediately getting that hollow call from Sabine
Sure.
with the armor on and everything. That'd be like, oh, so Hera knew she was going to come around eventually.
Exactly.
Why not go back and give her that shot? Yeah, that you solved it, Nate. You solved the problem.
I fixed it. Yeah. Call me, Filoni. I can. I'll help you out. Whatever. I think overall, though, this episode is, as you mentioned, a great follow up to part one. I think it does so much good stuff with setup, and I do think its third act is the shiniest, best part, and a lot of that has to do with Chopper. So I'm going to give part two a solid 4 out of 5 Chopper trackers. But that is it for this part 2 episode of Watch Club for Star Wars Ahsoka. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you haven't already. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts or your predictions on the shows like Star Wars Ahsoka that we cover here in Watch Club, well, let me just use my comms to reach Justin with my fresh haircut to tell him I'm ready so that he can tell you how to reach us.
They can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they reach out to us on the app formerly known as Twitter at GeekcentricYT, or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric, and on Threads as well at wearegeekcentric.
I love the commitment to not call it X. Let's keep it going.
It's so weird.
I hate it. It feels like we're giving in
It's
to his
so
wishes, and I don't want to do it. The Emperor Elon. Okay. Also, join our Discord. It's happening. It's happening. The people are in there jumping. They're jumping. What did we say earlier? They're jumping exposition. You can keep up with this Watch Club, and you can share your theories directly with us by joining through the link in our description. We also have a ton of other episodes covering the latest and greatest, shows and movies, including our recent spoiler-free reviews for maybe some things you missed, like Only Murders in the Building Season 3, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. Go see that movie. Haunted Mansion, Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, and The Bear Season 2. We also have a ton of great interviews out now, like our most recent interview with the cast and showrunner of Foundation, now in its second season on Apple TV+. And we have a ton of interviews that you can go back and watch with all sorts of Star Wars folks, like the cast of Andor, Katie Sackhoff, who plays Bo-Katan in The Mandalorian. We've got an interview with the director, one of the directors of The Mandalorian, and he's going to be directing one of these episodes of Ahsoka, if I'm not mistaken, Rick Famuyiwa. We also have a conversation with Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker himself, who might show up, as well as many, many more. So you can check those out here on your podcast service of choice, or over on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. Also, I'm back on streaming. You can catch me streaming some games. I had my comeback stream. It was a lot of fun. We had some giveaways. We played some games. If you want to keep the geeky conversation going over there at twitch.tv/NatePlaysGames, join me. Join the Discord to see when I'm going live. And there's just going to be so much more to talk about as the Hot Geek Summer continues. We, as of, right now, if you're listening to this, we are at Fan Expo in Toronto. And so, if you're listening to this, maybe on the way to Fan Expo, or you're at Fan Expo already, feel free to, if you see us, say hi. If you don't know what we look like, follow us on socials and you will. Check out our YouTube and you will. And then come say hi, because we would love to catch up with you. And you're going to see our coverage from Fan Expo on our socials, so make sure you subscribe to see what we get up to. Darcy, Justin, thank you so much for joining me for this part 2 of Star Wars Ahsoka Watch Club. And as we say,
We
are
are
no
no
Jedi.